Shalom, people. This is Brother Laws coming with another video. And there's a scripture in Revelations that talks about the seas and the rivers being polluted and turning to blood because of a star called Wormwood falling to the earth. And pollution of the water is nothing new. Even in ancient times, we know a lot of places that were water sources were also sources for sickness because of people's lack of knowledge of germs, where they would bathe and relieve themselves in the same body of water that they got their drinking water from, and many would die from typhoid or cholera. So pollution of water, like I stated, is nothing new. But pollution from byproducts of man's production of things, the byproducts of chemical processes, and maybe man, taking their trash and dumping it in the ocean is a problem that is something that really can be traced back to the 20th century, especially the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, where there was disrespect for the drinking water and the land by these big companies that this was just putting it out there and really didn't care about the waste that they left. And there will be, rises in consciousness against it, and they might stop, or they might just move on to a different way of disposing of their waste. But ultimately, if people took their eye off of these different corporations, that they would go back to some of the same ways that they had before, of just dumping it in the ocean or burying it in landfills. And so we are where we're at. But now this pollution is, especially of water, is taking it up a notch. I don't know, excuse me, if you have seen the news story about Japan deciding to dump millions of gallons of radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean, which in my estimation they've been doing it all along, because my understanding is the water sink in some of those storage tanks that they had put the water in. Some of it had got in and contaminated the groundwater of the surrounding area of Fukushima and the other places in Japan. And so now I think they just gonna make it official what they've been doing all along, which has been dumping radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean, which has shown a decrease in marine life and deformities in marine life. And so now we're looking at, like I said, this them officially coming out and acknowledge, I believe, what they've been doing all along. That did bring to my mind, could this also have something tied to that prophecy in the book of Revelations, where it talks about the seas turning red? Because there is a thing called red algae, I think it is red tide, that happens. It happens down in Florida because of the phosphate plants down there, the water that they use in these phosphate plants that got into, in which they said was radioactive, also got into the water and turned it red and killed all the sea life in it. And I'm thinking here with Fukushima, with them releasing this radioactive water, that we could be looking at a similar thing happening in the Pacific. Because I think now the thing is the wormwood. You know, does it have to be a star that actually falls? Could it be, you know, could it be describing something else? Or could it all just be tied together? I think it's just something that we should look at, not just because of the prophecy and Revelations, but because of the food that comes from the Pacific. You got a lot of your Alaskan whitefish that comes from there. You have a lot of seafood that comes from the Pacific. And this just brings into mind all the pollution that's happening around the world, that I believe before we know it, we might be waiting for a rock or meteor or something to fall into the water. And by the time we look for that, the water will be already been so tainted that whatever it is might just take it over the edge where it's already been. It's not like it's been pristine anyway. Because if you look at the plastics in the ocean, they're saying by 2030 there'll be much plastic as it is fish in the ocean by 2030. So, you know, even the seafood and everything that you're gonna be eating will have the plastic, this BPA and all the other chemicals from the petroleum industry in it. And if you know anything about petroleum is just like the lifeblood of the earth, they say. And you look at under a microscope, it's the lifeblood of the earth. It is, to me, the decomposed bodies and plants and, you know, animals from the flood. And so could it be that the plastics is the blood that it's talking about? They're gonna turn the water to blood. I'm just thinking a little bit outside the box, because sometimes we're sitting here and we're waiting for, like I said, a meteor or something to fall into the water and pollute it. And the pollution that's happening right now could actually be the fulfillment of the scriptures, which is why T. Boone Pickens, before he died, he said that the money was going to be in water rights, and how he, an oil man, said he was going to start investing more of his money in water and aquifers, because water was going to be the thing, clean water. And so we could, like I said, be sleeping, waiting for an asteroid or something to fall in the water and pollute it, and the pollution it's so complete. But by the time we wake up, you'll be understanding when you can't get clean water except you go through them and get their chip, and you'll be like, how did this happen right up under my nose? No, when they gave you that report and told you that they got this giant island of plastic in the Pacific Ocean that can be seen by a satellite, that should have been your wake-up call right then. That even the bottled water that you get, right, unless its source is deep within the earth, that you can't trust it. And so also, for that matter, with the fracking, where the fracking was taking polluted water and shooting it down in between the cracks of the rocks and loosening up the rocks for them to suck out more oil or whatever. But that it was also, when they did that water was polluting clean water sources that were surrounding it. And it's fast approaching us. You know, this not only the plastics or the release of the radioactive water at Fukushima, but even those phosphate pools, like I said, down in Florida, that they say if it breaks through and gets into Tampa Bay, it can kill off a lot of sea life and cause those red algae blooms to start up again. And we know that for I think it was about a year or maybe 2 years ago, when they had the real bad algae blooms there in Florida, and they had all this dead fish and sea life coming up on sea, and it was shutting down businesses and restaurants and everything. So we definitely gotta pray for the Most High to send back His Son, you know, come get us out of this land. Pray that you know, He keeps His angels of protection round about us, and definitely pray over everything that you put in your mouth, because these people want to poison the planet so bad that they'll be the only ones that you can come to get clean water and clean food. They're good at creating the problem and then having the solution. So with that, I want you to give this video a thumbs up. I want you to subscribe. I want you to leave a comment and be blessed.